Okay, this is just me talking about the road trip I took on Highway 101, how it kind of cut through Bigfoot country and all the big trees that are out there. Super fun, super beautiful road trip. I'd say if you're going to go on a road trip, this has to rank right up there with the best of them. The other ones, which I think were pretty cool, is going up Highway 1 along the coast. It's a fun road trip. The other one that I personally liked a lot was Route 66, which starts out from Southern California. It cuts through Arizona, and I believe it ends up in Chicago. That is a pretty cool road trip too. I mean, the old Route 66 is kind of gone for the most part, but it winds its way through the highways that took its place, um, and so that's pretty fun too because there's a lot of interesting things to look up. Like for example, like there's a petrified forest out there on Route 66 or off Route 66. There's also like a lot of Native American attractions that are out there, which I think are cool. Um, Although perhaps they're commercialized or whatever, but it was still fun regardless. So, and the Grand Canyon, of course, all that is on Route 66, or at least off of Route 66 anyway. But anyway, so I drove up Highway 101, and on the way, you end up cutting through Bigfoot country where they shot the famous footage of Bigfoot walking through like a creek bed or something. And maybe Bigfoot's real, maybe he's not. I don't really, have a strong opinion either way. I've heard people say that maybe perhaps Bigfoot is like the Nephilim or something. I honestly don't know. Um, but I just think it's interesting. It's something fun to talk about. Um, so there's that. And then also on that trip, I ran into several elk that were like 10 of them that were hanging out at a cabin where you can, or a cabin area where you can rent a cabin and go on a elk site tour, which looks fun. And then uh, further down the road, I saw like a whole herd of elk. I'd say maybe 50 to 100, somewhere in that ballpark. They were all in this big property where I think someone has horses or something out there. And that was kind of cool to look at. Like a whole herd of them was just amazing. And then um, this whole trip goes on these like kind of twisting mountain roads for the most part, um, with hairpin turns. And on that trip, you also will see like all the big redwood trees. And one of the things I saw on the side of the road was a log cabin made out of one log, like one big redwood tree. So I thought that was kind of cool looking. And there was a tree house, but not like a tree house where you think of it, where like there's a in the branches they someone builds like a little fort or something. It was a tree house where the tree was still living, and instead of the house being on the outside on the branches of the tree, it was built into the tree, into the living tree. So there's like a door where you can open it and actually go inside the tree. You can't go inside there now because of the COVID thing. They've got all that stuff closed, at least at the time I made this video. Um, but Nonetheless, I thought that was kind of interesting. And then I didn't go on any of these directly from the tour or the road trip, but there's places in that general area where you could drive through trees. I think there's several of them where you can actually take your car and drive through a tree because that's how big those sequoia redwoods are, which I thought was interesting. So not all the pictures I have in here I took myself. Some of these I actually took these pictures from the internet. The tree house, the drive-through trees being pictures I took from the internet, along with some of the other things, like for example, um, Confusion Hill. I've never actually been to Confusion Hill. I've driven past it. I saw it, but I didn't actually take the time to park and pay for admission and whatnot. To me, that Confusion Hill sort of looks like um, the mystery spot in Santa Cruz, where people have theories as to why um, things look the way they do. Basically, what it is when you get in there, it looks like you're. It looks like everything's supposed to be standing straight up, but you're crooked. Like it looks like you're at an angle, and it looks like balls roll uphill instead of downhill, and other things like that. Where there's also places there where if you lay down a level to show that the ground is level, it'll still look like someone who's shorter than you is the same height or taller, or same people who are the exact same height. One person will appear to be shorter than the other person. Some people think it's an optical illusion. And some people think, well, maybe it has something to do with the forces of magnetic energy in that area, etc. I think I've heard that at least the mystery spot, when planes fly over the mystery spot, airplanes, that their readings end up being kind of wonky. I might be wrong. Think if I remember right, someone telling me something about that. Anyway, so that mystery spot in Santa Cruz, California, is similar probably to Confusion Hill. That's just my guess on that. And there's also this, um, there's like zip lining or something where you can cut through the big old trees, and they go take you on tours of the redwoods out there, where they have these big old statues of Paul Bunyan and his ox, which is super cool. Well, I took a picture of that directly from my car. And then the other things I took pictures, I didn't take pictures of, but I took a couple pictures from the internet to kind of give you a feel for what it's like. Is that there's all along that whole trip, there's like all these little mountain creeks and babbling rivers and whatnot, with these really cool looking, kind of quaint looking bridges and whatnot, where I'm sure there's trout and everything else there. So it just, and there's all this forest everywhere. So it's a, you know, even without the roadside attractions, it's a beautiful trip. Um, and so that's all. Just want to share my trip going down road trip of Highway 101, um, looking at Bigfoot and big trees, and that's it.